everybody. Welcome back to Band for Life, the place to come for grassroots stories and stories of gigs from the early days of bands when they're playing pubs, clubs, venues, things like that. How you doing, Pete?
Hell was that?
that was that introduction, man. Do you like it?
Yeah.
We've got such an exciting show this week.
Let's not make that a thing.
Because this week we've got on Miss Shaw John Scanlon.
Yep.
Who is
John Leaf. John Leaf, as we affectionately know him.
Yeah. I was going to say he's not a promoter. He's not a musician as such. Well, I don't know, he might play a bit of guitar, but he's actually a promoter who's put on a lot of gigs, like a lot of, mostly small gigs as well. I mean, mostly unsigned. I mean, I know he does bigger things now, but I'm sure he'll tell us when he comes on, but he's done a lot of the kind of pubs and stuff that we've played in our local hometown and in other areas as well. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm sure he's got some good stories and good things to tell. And also probably some insight into the music scene in general, being a promoter from that side of it, especially for any musicians out there who might be listening in. I'm sure he might have some insightful tips for the future.
Yeah, cool. So, as you've already said, we're still new here, but yeah, we're going to shine a light on grassroots and the pub club scene. It's Friday, so...
Friday. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's our aim. Let's talk about what it's like to be in a normal everyday band rather than a superstar group.
Although if we do get the superstars on in the future, we want to take them back to their grassroots time, you know.
Yeah.
Back to the times when they weren't so, caviar and wine.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this week for us, in terms of recording, has been a little bit weird because we had bonfire night last week, so we skipped a week because I'm in my garage, so it's not particularly soundproof.
Or fireworks.
So yeah, so actually we only recorded 2 days ago. But anyway, what's new this week?
Well, I think something I wanted to mention actually is kind of off the back of last week's or the other days, or last week's podcast, last week's video. You were mentioning about a boom in guitar sales, secondhand and used, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we were kind of thinking about and what we mentioned the other day was that do we think there's going to be more females playing in bands in the future? Go.
Okay. So, I have a daughter who is 4.
Yes.
And I've always said, ever since Hannah got pregnant with my daughter,
Who is 4?
I always wanted her to be a drummer. Because girl drummers, you don't see it very often. And I think that's one of the coolest things.
You don't see them very often. I agree with that.
No, you don't. And I've always said, as a rule, in general, I think female singers are better suited to like rock and alternative.
Controversial.
No, maybe not. Yeah, I'm going to say better.
Okay.
And from my point of view in bands at the moment, female singers are better for the pub, club, cover scene.
Interesting. I mean, I haven't seen that many, although I have seen a few. Mostly kind of like classic rock bands or the kind of pop punk Paramore style thing. Because if you look at big bands in a kind of rock scene, there isn't that many. There's Hailstorm, Paramore.
Lacuna Coil, are they still big?
Yeah, Lacuna Coil. There's not like a great deal of. Oh, there's Paris as well. They're really good. Yeah, what I was saying was there's not a great deal of kind of bands that I know of that are really big and signed up to labels that have a female fronted singer. I don't know why. It is dominated by males, pretty much. But
yeah, it's always been a boys' club.
in the Unsigned game, although it's still a boys' club, there is. I do feel like there is more. I've seen quite a few female-fronted rock, alternative, metal, punky. Not many indie actually, but like a few like bands like that with a female-fronted singer.
Yeah. You used to see it. I mean, we always had a girl in the band, didn't we? We always had Claire on bass.
We did actually. I don't know why we seem to always have a female in the band. It just seemed to happen.
We always kind of got. Everyone was kind of surprised when we did rock up with a girl on bass.
Yeah.
Everyone was always kind of like taken aback a little bit, but
it's true.
Yeah. So yeah, Fender. I've just did a bit of research before this. So Fender are set to introduce more signature guitars this year. So I'm just gonna go through a couple. So a few that I know of. Samantha Fish is getting a signature Jazzmaster. Anna Popovic is getting a Strat. Melanie Faye is getting a Strat. They're the only ones I recognise, but obviously these guys could be huge elsewhere. Nita Strauss became the first woman to get a signature Ibanez. Obviously Lizzie Hale has got signature Epiphones and Gibsons.
Lizzie Hale.
So I definitely think it's on the up, and I think there's another one. Oh God, what's her name?
It's more there than I expected. I only named 3 bands I could think off the top of my head before. I didn't think of some of those ones.
I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I'm really into like my blues and sort of Americana blues, rocky type music. I'm just looking through my recently added on iTunes, and I've got Sari Shaw. She's obviously female. Laura Cox, like a hard rock bluesy type vibe. And Ella, oh God, where's she gone? Els Bailey, she's kind of country / bluesy. So I think there's more popping up, and I think it's a really great thing.
No, I agree. It's a great thing, and I think that like it sounds like, because I didn't know about Fender doing that before this. I think that it sounds like the kind of like marketing towards female musicians more now, maybe then, because I hadn't heard of any female signature, though that many female signature guitars.
I know. Obviously, I can only really speak for a guitar point of view, but I know that they did a thing a while ago, the Daisy Rock line, and like Gibson released a Goddess series that were kind of aimed towards women that were slightly lighter, slightly skinnier, and they were all like pink and purples and sparkly, and a lot of like you see on Anderton's whenever he does interview someone like Laura Cox. He interviewed a while ago, and Mary Spender and that kind, and Nita Strauss, and they're like, we don't want pink and sparkly.
No,
like we just want a good guitar that sort of more ergonomically fits a woman than a bloke.
Just because they're typically, because feel like you're like physically different because they're physically different to most. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. And I can't go with that because, it's almost, I know, like, going pink and sparkly, it's kind of like saying, here's one for you, isn't it? Where a lot of, I reckon a lot of female musicians want a decent Strat or a decent whatever kind of a decent Gibson, whatever, that doesn't look that different. Or maybe it is just the same, basically. But maybe the fretboard is different, or
maybe it's got a different sort of comfort carve in it, like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not the actual, not different that much, apart from maybe for the hand.
Yeah. So it was just something that I was thinking about. Hopefully, we get more, and I think as well, there's like female YouTubers. So like, there's Mary, you might not know. But like Mary Spender's a big singer-songwriter on YouTube.
Mary Spender.
Oh, she's yeah. She makes some of the best music videos that I see. And like scrolling through Instagram, you know, if you follow hashtags and things, there seems to be a lot more women popping up on there, absolute killer guitarists.
Yeah.
Like Sophie Lloyd, she's incredible.
I'll check her out.
Yeah, go find her. I think she's called Sophie Guitar on Instagram.
Yeah.
And YouTube as well. So yeah, it's just something that I was thinking about. Hopefully, we kind of close that gap a little bit, and it stops being such a boys' club. And we start seeing more. And I think, do you not think? Obviously, we can't. Well, I can speak from my experiences. Like walking into a guitar shop or a music shop is intimidating for me.
Oh, you mean because the guys selling them are like shredding away and stuff? Like, oh, can you play?
Yeah, so like even I get a little bit intimidated. Like, yeah, if I pick up this guitar and I don't go into like a side room, I've got to bring it. Like people are listening to me. I mean, they don't care. They're just looking at pretty guitars. But like for a female to walk in there and be like, have that on top of a bunch of blokes who work there trying to mansplain to them that this, like, I don't really know how to put it.
I don't know, because I think a lot of girls nowadays are, and I know we said about like the guitar might be ergonomically or comfortably different. Like, I think a lot of girls probably don't want that as well. Like, a lot of them just want a normal guitar.
Yeah.
Like, is just like anybody else's, you know, like, and just kind of go with that. So it probably, I'd be interested to see how the gap fills, and if the gap fills, how many actually go for like the signature series, how many go for the pink and glittery, and how many just kind of stick with the standard, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely a market there for pink and glittery.
Yeah, obviously there's a market.
I don't think it should be like the sole selling point of a guitar aimed at women.
No, yeah, I wouldn't. I think that'd be a bit, you know, it's pink, so it's for a girl, you know. It's a bit like kind of, you know.
I would play a pink guitar.
I almost bought a pink bass just to be edgy, like, you know.
Well, my favourite Fender colour is shell pink.
Yeah.
I want to refinish my Telecaster in shell pink because it's
different.
Just amazing. It's a great colour.
Yeah, bright, isn't it? But nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's put a pin in it and see in the next 6 months to 12 months. We might come back to it maybe next year. How, see how if it changes and how it does, and if there are any more bigger bands with female musicians, maybe not just singers, like drummers, like you say, or other musicians, guitarists and stuff. One of my favorite. Well, it used to be one of my favorite bands. I don't listen to as much anymore. MSI, Malice Self Indulgence. They've got female members, female drummer, female bass player.
The Subways,
who were mega. I haven't listened to them in ages.
Just having another quick flick through. Larkin Poe, they've been on the scene for a while.
Yeah.
Larkin Poe, Samantha Fish again. I don't know how long she's been around for, but I downloaded one of her albums. In fact, I was going to recommend it as one of our albums of the week.
I'll save that for later.
Yeah. Yeah, she's cool. I want to see it shrink.
Let's see what happens. And I've been interested to look as well. If anybody knows, if anybody's got kind of stats, comment below on kind of if it's been an uptake in female musicians in the last 20 years, 30 years, whatever. Because obviously we live in a different world now from what it used to be back in the 70s and stuff. Everyone's got access to learn an instrument because of videos on YouTube. You don't need to go and get a tutor anymore. That's a whole other video about that. But if that kind of side of it has increased, people taking up music as well, you know. So if anybody knows the stats of musicians in bands, post them below.
I want for my daughter to be able to walk into any music shop, feel as comfortable as anyone else, and to go and find whatever takes her passion. She wants to be a drummer. She wants to be a pianist. She wants to
be a dancer.
Whatever she might want to do. But
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
I just thought it was an interesting point.
Yeah. Interested to know what the viewers think on that one, actually, really am.
I think
everyone's going to have a opinion on it, I reckon.
Get spicy in the comment section there.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens, because we put it out there.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready to get our guest on. I know he's waiting.
Yep.
So we'll move over to Mr. John Scanlon.
So this week we've got John Scanlon from Leaf Promotions on. We've done loads of work between the two of us with John. I was his tech in the Baker's Vaults for a few years.
They were the days.
They were the days. They really were the days.
Good to see you again, man.
I've never ever understood why covers bands make more money than original bands, right?
Hang on. Just stop there, though. Make any money.
Make any money at all, yeah.
Yeah.
Have your fucking pot, right?
Exactly. We do the pot, man. We do the pot.
Yeah, because you used to do the pot at Baker's Vaults, which was a great idea and it should be. I think it should be like rolled out to every pub because, like, for really small independent gigs, having just like go around the pub with a pot, saying, "Oh, it's free tonight. Donate. All the money goes to bands." If you get a tenner, it covers the fuel. On a busy night, I know for a fact, you had what bands were being paid like 50, 60 quid because the pot had so much money in it on a busy night. For an unsigned band, that can be.
It's something that's I think it's very particular to Stockport. It's something Stockport's always done. Is the pot is a big tradition around here. It's not necessarily the same in other towns. It's like Manchester, you've got no chance of doing stuff like that. But it does work well, and it means you can cover bands' expenses at the very least, and hopefully give them some sort of fee as well, which makes a big difference if you're in an unsigned band. It's bad enough with pay-to-play promoters and everything else.
I was going to say, pay-to-play was the big thing in Manchester, wasn't it? Like, buy all your tickets.
It's still there, by the way. It's not gone away. Yeah. It's just not as prevalent as it was because there's not as many venues.
I know.
There was a big boycott thing, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I
know. Boycott the pay-to-plays.
I know.
The whole idea of pay-to-play is just absolutely shocking for any single band. The fact that you have to spend so much money in the first place, learn your instrument, buy your instruments, get to the gig, bring all your mates down, and then you end up paying a promoter at the end of the night is absolutely shocking. At one point, this is like 10 years ago, to headline a Thursday night in Academy 3 at the time. I won't name which promoter it was, but it was like £9 a ticket, and you had to sell 50 odd tickets, I think. And if you didn't sell them, you owed them the rest of the money at the end of the night. This is Thursday night.
It's not exactly a mega night, is it? I mean, this is something to watch out for if there are any like young people watching who just started a band or something and want to start gigging in Manchester. Just beware when you get too good to be true offers, because that's what I used to remember when I contacted promoters about getting gigs. It'd be advertised as like this, 200 plus venue, great, whatever, loads of promotions got into it, there'd be 4 bands on, etc., etc. And then when they send you the contract, and they would send you a proper contract, it'd be like, you have to sell a minimum of 30 tickets. Basically, you have to pay for 30 tickets up front, and then when you sell them, anything after 30, you make a profit. But, you're basically just putting the money in the promoter's pocket.
The thing they used to do a lot was, let's say, if you come in and you sell so many tickets, we'll give you a support slot with a signed band.
Yeah.
That was like the tempting way to get in. But you're talking 10 gigs down the line, you have to sell out every single one of them. They're off you selling tickets for them before you even get there. If you even get there, half the time it's not even true.
Yeah, I was going to say, do them gigs with signed acts even turn up?
I don't know if anyone's actually gone and done one. They just get offered it in the first place.
Anybody can say this, this is the problem, isn't it? Like, exactly. Facebook thing, you see those Facebook posts like, share this and you win a holiday or whatever. I'd be interested to know how many holidays are given away, because I'm sure that's for real.
Yeah, win a car if you share and tag 2 people in there. You never see anyone winning that car.
Win a trip to the moon with Virgin Galactic.
But yeah, promoters definitely use that trick a lot to get, especially young bands in, because young bands are 17, 18 years old. You're more likely to be able to bring out a lot of people, especially on a weeknight. Just because we've got less responsibilities, haven't really got families to look after. They can get out on a weeknight and sell so many tickets. I know when you guys were 17, 18, you were packing out every venue you did. You really were. You were filling every place.
And then you slowly stopped booking us as we went on,
Well, you were always 3 days management band.
3 days. repeat this month. But it was good, yeah.
You were a whole separate team from Leaf.
Yeah, because if we played every 6 months or so, every 3 months, we could pack it out because people would be like, oh, I've not seen 3 days in 6 months. And we'd normally, you'd find some good support bands, or Yvonne would find some support bands, or, played with loads of different bands. Baker's was good. I remember we played some gig at Baker's that were cracking. Really.
Baker's even now it's a venue that people still ask me about. I've done a lot of venues since the Baker's changed, obviously.
Yeah.
It went from, for people who don't know the Baker's, it went from quite a rocky, grungy, cool venue to quite a trendy place now. But back in the day, it was like the place in Stockport to go and watch a band, basically.
Yeah,
bar none.
It was
far superior to everything else.
I still hear people talk about it because I'm on the covers circuit now. Like, you still get people who you meet on the covers. Oh, piss off. You still get people on the covers scene asking about the Bakers and saying, like, oh, yeah, I played in the Bakers. It was amazing. Is it still going? You're like, no. It's not the same pub anymore.
No.
I think every town has that little venue where it's just known for Unsigned music, and Baker's was Stockport very much so.
Yeah.
But all the outskirts gigs, which is something else I wanted to talk about as well, actually, is why you should play outskirts rather than town centre gigs, and pay to play is part of that. But every town has got that one venue, and we kind of lost ours. So now every promoter who is still doing stuff, you're basically turning pubs into gig places. It's no longer actual venues. It's just pubs with a room. You get your own PA, you get your own band to sort it out yourself, which is the way most towns are going to go after Corona, when a lot of these places just aren't going to open back up.
Well, I know
even Manchester is suffering massively with venues shutting down. It's only going to get worse.
Well, I mean, I know from my experience with whatever, we had a whole year booked of like every weekend, and I'd say at least 50% of the pubs have said we've got to cancel because we're shutting down. We can't do this. We can't keep it open. It's not feasible.
It's a horrible time to own a music venue. I mean, Spinning Top's another one, solely reliant on live music, and there's no sign of live music coming back as this recording's going out. We've got no idea really how long it's going to be before social distancing. Before we can actually make a gig pay, you can't have social distancing to really get to make a decent profit. So that's be a long way away.
That's the other thing with social distancing. What was once a 120 capacity pub, let's take the Bakers for argument's sake. That was licensed for 120 people, I think. I reckon.
Well, I've seen times when you did have 120 people in there.
Yeah, well, there was times when we had a few more than that in there as well. But
I think Floyd played, you couldn't get through the door. When Massive Wagons played, it was like that. Virgin Mary's played.
I was going to say Virgin Mary's is one of the craziest gigs. The last couple of gigs, absolutely insane. People crowd surfing to get to the toilet.
I love it.
it was mad. But those days might be gone. We just don't know yet.
Well, I think let's take the Bakers as it was. So you could have got 120, few more sometimes in. You'd struggle to get 20 in there. Properly socially distanced.
But in the last, when they kind of opened up for a little bit, they said we could do 30 people, but 30 people doesn't even pay the bills for the pub. Doesn't even pay your utility bills and everything else, and your rent and rates. So
it's the thing about the Bakers that I want to mention, for anybody who doesn't know the Bakers Vaults, which was a great music pub in Stockport, is that the good thing about it, and I don't see this anywhere anymore, is there was literally music on every night. Like, I think it was maybe Monday night was the only night where there wasn't music. Like, it was Monday Tuesday jazz night. Monday was shut. Tuesday jazz night. Wednesday, I used to put a punk night on sometimes, occasionally, and then there'd be other things going on. Thursday would generally be a Leaf night. I think I did one Thursday a month.
I did alternate Thursdays and Friday every week. So
yeah, Fridays and Saturdays. It'd be yourself doing, new bands and stuff, and then it'd be a cover band on either Saturday or Friday. And then Sundays...
Sunday used to be a couple of open mic nights and things like that.
There you go. Music every night.
Which already, if you look at that, you see the volume of original music just in that weekly regular list compared to any venue now, where it's dominated by covers bands for various reasons. Obviously, you expect, because of covers bands, you just expect a big crowd, and that's essentially why they pay more money. But it shouldn't be like that, because original music should be paid more money.
And a variety, because jazz used to put on like alternative nights and metal nights. I thought there'd be acoustic.
It literally had something for everyone in there.
Yeah, and that's the kind of places that I miss, and I'm sure you guys miss, and that we want back, guys. Like, that's what we want. And the original bands, you know, you could go in. I was in there 5 days a week. You could see and I didn't work there. And you can see, I did sometimes. You can see a different band, you know, and you just get to sit there and watch them. And you get good bands. You get bands that are just starting out and that they're new and they're doing the best. And you get bands that have been going for years. And you just get to sit there and watch them and listen. And you know, who doesn't want that back, you know?
And by the way, the vast majority of these are free entry as well. You're talking absolutely free to get in gigs.
Oh yeah, 99%.
Go and sit in the pub and watch unbelievably talented musicians for absolutely nothing. That's also go by the wayside. So
yeah.
What was quite nice about yours, John, was that you'd get people that come back to see a specific band. It's like I always know that my favourite was, oh God, what were they called?
Stand Out Riot.
Fire Vampires.
I miss them. I'm so good.
Yeah, no, they were never my thing then. There was, Limehawk.
Oh, Limehawk, yeah.
Limehawk. I loved them.
Top band, yeah.
I remember I accidentally
on Spotify, everybody, Limehawk.
Limehawk.
Yeah. Shout out to Limehawk.
When I was
doing anymore, but the music's still on, man.
When I was doing a tiny little bit of promoting at the Bakers, which was so side hustle, it was untrue. I remember contacting them and they said to me, "So, you do the Bakers? Do you know anything? Do you work with John?" I was like, "Oh no, you can't," because we had a thing, didn't we? That we didn't like.
Well, that's where because Lee's been going for so long, we often probably work with most of the bands going, so it's unlikely that most of the time. I imagine at least half of them would have probably already played for us if they're any good.
There wasn't, because I was put on specifically. I was kind of going for the punk thing. So there was some bands that I think that didn't fit on any of your nights. And I said to you, I've contacted these guys. They said they contacted you, and you said, "Oh, it's all right. I couldn't fit them in anywhere," and that was good.
Punk's one genre that Leaf's never really done. We do more everything from metal to kind of more alternative indie stuff. With the odd very strange band, we'll do a bit of a crazy folk band or a ska punk band or something like that. But like punk, straight down the line punk isn't something that we really did, which is where you came in really, and you were doing a lot of that stuff, which was really good.
Yeah, when the Wednesdays weren't that busy. When I got the Thursday every month, it seemed to pick up because I tried to put the better bands that I got on, or the better bands in my opinion, or the more experienced bands on the Thursdays, and it would pick up. There was one night I did a Halloween gig. And I got some good bands on. It was absolutely random. I was actually late for it myself.
As usual.
Yeah, I was late for my own. I know, and I was promoting like this good stuff.
Yeah, I was good there. Wonder why you're not doing promoting anymore.
I know, and we had Forgery on. I had another band on from somewhere else. That's
the other thing about the Bakers is every now and again you just get it absolutely packed for no set reason. It would just be rammed. You just don't get like that anymore.
Everyone was
kind of predict whether it's going to be packed or not way beforehand.
Yeah, of course.
We need more venues, guys.
Yeah, more venues.
Got money to invest.
I honestly think that, though, after this, because everyone's missed it so much, I think every gig's going to be, like, out the door.
That's what all my regulars are saying to me is, like, I know it's bad now, but just think how insane it's going to be when you can do that first one back. It's going to be crazy.
I think
the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. I can't wait for it. I just have no idea how long it's going to be, so... Just in a bit of a limbo at the minute.
I think it'll be next year. This vaccine, I mean, this has been recorded in November for everyone watching, and when the vaccine is released, I think it'll start to, as soon as people start getting the vaccine and the numbers start going down, they can start and eventually say we can stop social distancing. As soon as they say we can stop social distancing, it's been eradicated or it's so low.
It's game on then.
Game on, yeah. It's literally game on. I'll be out every night. I'll be like,
I think a lot of people will, because they will have missed it. It's like you say, I've got people who live for the weekend. They literally all they want to do is see live music, and it's getting people. Obviously, mental health has gone through the floor at the minute. It's absolutely crazy. And gigs were a big part of a social scene, getting people together, go and see your mates, go and see a live band for free. And we haven't got any of that at the minute, so it's a lonely world out there right now.
Yeah, it is. So, go on. I'm intrigued. I'm interested to know if you can think of one of your gigs from... I mean, how long have you been promoting for now? I can't even...
Oof. I started doing it. It's a long story how I stared doing Leaf. I won't get into that now. It's too long.
Well, you can if you want.
But I started doing it just to challenge myself and see if I could do it. I've always loved live music. I worked with a few promoters of indie nights when I was at uni. Just basically flying and stuff and helping them promote. And when I came back to Stockport, I just thought, Basically, I was getting emails from bands from another company I used to work for, which was an R&B beach trading website, which we won't go into. It's just a long story. That's a long part of the story. It wasn't my company, but I was the co-founder of it. Don't bother looking for it. The website's still up. I actually checked it the other day. The website's there. Lastsound.com. There's no content on there, but check it out. But while I was doing that, because I've got no interest in R&B really, it's not really my scene. But we were getting emails from bands every single day saying, "Do you do any live stuff, any events?" And I just approached a pub in Stockport and said, "You've got a back garden. I want to try and do this. It seems like we get loads of decent bands coming. I'll try it out." I don't even know what a PA was at this point, by the way. That's how
I still don't, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Let's do my own sound, by the way. Self-taught, no lessons.
You do your own sound? Oh, God.
You need to get down to more Leaf gigs, mate.
I need to have less kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get out more.
Yeah.
So I started. We did the first one in December 2005 as like a one-off. It was only ever going to be a one-off thing.
How old were you?
It was absolutely lashing it down. Basically, people said you couldn't do that in Stockport anymore. The music scene had died. There was nothing left. Even the Bakers was barely doing gigs. The Boys had to stop doing gigs. Bulls had to stop doing gigs. So I said, well, why don't we bring it back? If it had such a vibrant music scene, why can't it be done now? So 1st of December 2005, we had nearly 500 people stood out in the rain, all paying in. By the way, it was a £5 a ticket.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a hell of a night. And the buzz I got off doing that, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep doing this. So I started doing it I started doing it like quarterly, every few months. And then over the years, it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger. 2019, did 106 gigs.
Wow.
Together, which is the most we've done ever. It's just basically got bigger and bigger every year. So
it's brilliant that you've managed to turn this, what started as basically like a hobby or an idea, and turn it into.
It was only ever meant to be a one-off, just to challenge yourself, see if I could do it. Yeah. Me and one other mate, who also had like a shared love for live music, really, and it works out pretty well. We're still doing it now.
Yeah, you turn it into, and it's good that you can make money out of it and turn it into your life, and do it fairly, because, like I said about.
This is something else I wanted to say. If anyone's watching this thinking, "Oh, maybe I'll try and be a promoter," don't go into it thinking you're going to make any money for a long time, because it takes a long time to be able to get enough bands, quality bands, to be able to get a regular fan base, and B, venues with enough trust in you to be able to actually pay you a fee. You'll be working for a long time for nothing. So you've got to love it, because it's not a job you go into for cash, really.
I completely agree. I did it, like I said, marginally, just to challenge myself. I mean, I enjoyed it. I wanted to see more punk bands because I enjoyed it, and there wasn't many around. I didn't make a lot of money. I think you're going to do it as a passion, really, and then if you manage to turn it into a career, fantastic. But I wouldn't go into it for the wrong reasons, thinking you're going into to like be the Wolf of Wall Street and make a load of money and charge bands hundreds of pounds to play tiny little.
I think I've seen that, especially when Live opened. What was Bambuza? It was one of the first live Stockport. Then it was Bank Chambers Live.
Yeah,
you had a lot of young promoters coming in thinking, "Oh, we've got a really big venue there. We'll be able to make a lot of money out of it." I know two mates who are both in bands, and you're like, "Whoa, this is not a good sign."
Yeah, it's not how it works.
All wrong.
You are barking up the wrong tree, mate.
Yeah. And the fact you're able to
get decent.
The fact you're able to take bands from the pot and put the gigs on for free, most of your gigs, is amazing.
Well, that's it. That's one of the reasons why a lot of bands return to Leaf gigs, because they like the ethos that we kind of have for not ripping off bands. We don't charge tickets, so there's no pressure on the band to sell any tickets, and hopefully they're going home with at least petrol money at the end of the night. So at the very least, and usually some sort of fee. And if it's busy, then you're making a decent whack of money. We're all happy.
Yeah. So. What I noticed though, actually, is even if you didn't have a band on that people knew, I mean, when people saw the bands and they were the good bands, you get your fans who come to see Virgin Mary's, for example, etc., etc. But you get people coming to Unite because it was like they like metal music, so they'll go to John's Thorns, isn't it? Yeah.
There was Thorns. Yeah, Thorns were the heavy ones at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd go, even if you didn't know the bands, because they'd know that it's going to be the music, the type of music you like. There's 3 or 4 bands on.
Well, that's it. There isn't. Back in the day, I didn't even used to keep it genre specific. I just, if it was quality bands, then I trust that our audience had enough knowledge of quality music to appreciate it, whether or not they're into it. they'd enjoy it because they just appreciate the musicianship and the ability of the actual band and the songwriting. So you can get away with an indie band, with a metal band, and a ska band or whatever, because they're all very, very good at what they do. So it doesn't really matter.
And some of the bands
we're a lot more genre specific now. So we do have metal nights and we do have acoustic nights that are very banded up.
Yeah. I was just going to say, some of the bands that you've had on at the ground level are now actually doing really, really well. So I know we mentioned Virgin Mary's, Massive Wagons. I know Fire Vampires. You also had a band on, I can't remember the name, they won a Battle of the Bands or something.
I'll tell you about Fire Vampires. Have you heard of a band called Circle Waves? I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
They're a big band radio one. The lead singer of Circle Waves was the guitarist out of Fire Vampires.
Oh, cool.
So they're doing all right,
yeah.
Another band who's made it big, they've had a couple of albums out now. One actually got into top 40 during lockdown. The Lottery Winners, have you ever saw them?
Yeah.
The ones I was talking about,
yeah.
Massive Wagons were in the charts not that long ago.
Yeah, they got to really high in the charts.
Number 4 or something.
I think they've had 2 top 10 albums, I think, now.
That's down for them,
They're doing all right, yeah. I know they were one of your mum's favourite band, Pete.
Yeah, they were good, Dale.
They squeezed onto that stage, though, didn't they? Because and they were energetic as well live, like the whole band.
Yeah. I have some small venues now, which are like really, really good for intimate gigs, but we can really pack in a lot of musicians in a very small space. So you can get like an 8 or 9 piece, like a Latin band or an African band.
Samba
in the tiniest of rooms, and it still works. There's something great about, rather than doing large scale venues, I think intimate gigs are the best because you can literally get right up close to them. Most of the time they're free as well, which is always a bonus. And like I say, generally we can guarantee that you're going to see quality music because we've filtered through enough bands over the years to be able to know who's good and who's not that good.
Yeah, and this is literally what the channel is about, kind of stories. Getting in the ground up, and seeing bands. And this is why we encourage everybody watching or listening to get out there and watch unsigned bands, because they might be unsigned now, but you go to these gigs and you don't know where some of them go. And some bands are happy at the level they're at, and that's fine, and they're great, fantastic bands. But
some bands love the underground side of it, and they like being a little bit more niche. And some bands, just like you say, it can take a year, it can take 10 years. But some of them do go on to be absolutely massive, like known household names now. Really, if you're into your Manchester music, so. Like I said, the guitarist from The Words, he's now in Black Grape. So you can get there. You've got to graft for a while, but there are still some avenues to getting into mainstream music.
It's not an easy thing to do, is it?
Oh no. And like I say, you have to sacrifice a lot to be able to do it. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of the time. So
yeah.
So
if you go into it for money, you're gonna regret it. You need to go in for the love of it first, and hopefully the money follows after.
Yeah. And then you end up with a job that isn't really a job because you just love it.
Yeah.
It's a career. So you've been
or a job that gets wiped out by a virus.
Oh yeah, all that.
Yeah.
All that. So go on then, John. Over 15 years. Give us some bad ones.
You must have had some shit.
Well, I was gonna say there was that time. We'll do a Pete one first because everyone seems to be.
Oh god, yeah.
Great.
Everyone seemed to flag me off at some point in.
Yeah, there's one time we've done all the sound checks. This was before I was doing sound, so Pete was on sound this night. This is in the Baker's Vaults, and we're just about to go for the first band, and then the music completely cuts out. Everyone's looking around, wondering what the hell is going on. Turn around to Pete. He's flapping around, running around, hands flaring in the air. He's dropped an entire pint over the sound desk, and it's literally blown up.
Yeah, that was fun.
You don't remember that, Grinch?
Like literally, we were about to start. I think
it was about to go.
And
that was on stage.
Yeah, and I think it was like as I was moving across to. Now this is a lesson. Any young sound engineers or anyone who does anything with anything electrical, 1, don't get pissed. 2, if you are going to get pissed, don't have your pint next to the mixer. That poor thing was.
Well, I remember as well. There was one time where a monitor set on fire as well. I think you were there for that.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was.
I remember that.
I can't remember what they were called, but they were amazing.
Blew up, didn't it?
Yeah, on fire. Like
absolutely on fire. Yeah.
How do you even do that? It was a passive speaker. Like there's no.
I've never seen anything like that. There's no power in it.
I just managed to lose the beer down the circuit, you know, like.
No, it wasn't anything like that though. I remember just being sat in the because we had like a sound booth at the back. There used to be a kitchen, and we cut a hole in the wall. I remember being sat there, and I'm thinking,
I'm proud of it.
I can see smoke. Why can I see smoke? Is a smoke machine on? No, smoke machine's not on. Why is there smoke? And then the keyboard player or something, wasn't it? He come running up to the back and he's like, yeah, the monitor's on fire. I was like, shit.
Cut the power.
We've had, like I say, the first venue which I mentioned, the one which I did for the first ever gig, I don't know if I mentioned it was actually outdoors as well in December. So I was absolutely lashing it down. And the second gig we did there, the first one went really well even though it was raining. The second one was torrential rain. And we'd hired this guy to bring a PA down, and he brought really, really top-end gear, like thousands of pounds worth of stuff. And we didn't have a proper stage. We just had like a cobbled floor that we'd levelled out with some cardboard, basically, to make it even. And it literally just flooded, absolutely flooded, like a couple of feet of water. Just before we're due to go on, we had to pull the whole thing, pull all the band, cancel all the tickets, sold loads of tickets for it. So we've had floods, fires.
Is this the one? Is this your first one? Or
this is the second or third one ever, but the same venue where the first one was.
Right. And you had to pull the entire gig?
Pull the entire gig. With no notice. Like, people were on the way down. They couldn't do it. The sound engineer looked like he's going to have a nervous breakdown if we started the gig, because obviously all this stuff is literally in a pool of water by this point.
The speakers don't do well swimming, do they? You know.
Apparently not. Electricity and water don't mix. I've found that.
No, never. You never get 100 yard certificate for your Mackies.
There's another time. I don't know if you guys. You might not been around drinking in Stockport this time. Do you remember SK1 when I was doing the Battle of the Bands there?
I never went there, but I remember.
It was mainly known as like an R&B venue, but we thought we'd try like a Battle of the Bands there. It was a really cool little place actually with a little stage, but it was known for a load of trouble. But we opened it up just on Sunday nights, which none of the idiots who usually went there knew about. And so yeah, we're doing like a monthly night there. And one of the bands is late, and they're rushing in with all the gear, so I went to help and rode it. There's a little metal grid outside as I'm running around with two speakers in my hands. Stood on the grid, literally went through the grid into the drain. Holding two speakers. I've got one leg all the way into the drain, one leg up to my knee.
Nice.
That also was not a great experience, I can tell you. I did the entire gig, like taking tickets on the door, like literally covered in human waste.
Can't get much better than that, can you?
I thought I'd say it's not all glory. This promoting, like, you know,
covered in feces. Oh my god. So most of your gigs, apart from these few horrendous ones, most of them go swimmingly. Well,
we do, and we have had some amazing ones as well. We've done some quite large scale ones. Do Stockport Beer Festival every year at Edgeley Park, which is like 7,000 people over 3 days. That's always good. We're there every year. I've done the last 6 or 7 years there. Obviously, this one was cancelled as well, but hopefully be back next year. We've done a lot of kind of large scale food and drink festivals and stuff like that, which is really, really good. And like I say, but the ones I really enjoy are actually the smaller venues. The Magnet was always one that was loved when I used to do the Magnet in there, an acoustic night, which I've replicated in the Petersgate Tap in Stockport, and it's as close as I've got to the Magnet ever, and I absolutely love doing gigs in the Petersgate Tap. It's really, really good atmosphere. The quality of our acoustic acts at the minute is just absolutely insane. I'll send you some links later. We could put some links below maybe in this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, also, if there are any acoustic acts who want to come onto the channel, the podcast, drop us a message below, because we'll have acoustic acts on. We'll have all musicians and promoters and people from the music scene. It could be a sound engineer. You know, it doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily be guitarists or anything.
Okay, you want people from all areas of the music industry, basically.
All walks of musical life.
Yeah.
Just going back to top quality acts, something that we were talking about last week, Grange.
Mm-hmm.
This lockdown, a lot of people have took up a new hobby, and a lot of people, like the music gear side of things, has kind of exploded recently. So I'm thinking that there's now going to be a shitload of new people playing. So I'm quite excited to see what comes out in a couple of years. Once all these people are, like, all the people who are going to drop off do so, and everyone who's going to carries on, I think we're going to end up with a flood of new bands and artists and all sorts of stuff. Just out of, like, as to take a positive away from Corona. And then, like we said before, I think most gigs are going to be packed. At least for the first 6 months.
I remember when, do you remember when Guitar Hero first came out? On consoles, obviously. Yeah. I was convinced that was going to be the end of, like, new bands coming through, because I thought, why would they bother picking up an instrument when they can just do it on the console at home? And it actually did the exact opposite. There was a massive surge of people who then wanted to get into guitar music, started picking up instruments. And, we had a big wave for a couple of years of all new, really young bands, really good, talented bands coming through for a long time.
Even when you're on level 1 of Guitar Hero, you see, because you got levels, don't you? And it really glorifies it. Because even when you're on level 1, there's like 50 people there in that room, and you're like, well, this is all right, you know. This is like it's not kind of thing for level, like.
Even the worst gig on Guitar Hero is busier than most Unsigned gigs. Some
I've been to. Yeah, I mean, I've played. I mean, like, and any bands who watch this stuff, if you play a gig just to the other bands, like. It just happens. I feel like it's like a rite of passage. You will do a gig where literally nobody comes.
I honestly think that every single band who's ever played for me has done another gig for another promoter to nobody. Like, it just happens all the time, especially in Manchester, and especially pay to play, because a lot of bands, people go, well, if I have to buy my own tickets anyway, I'm not going to tell my mates to come down. I'll tell them to come down to the free gigs. And I'll just do it and hope there's going to be people there. Well, all bands have the same idea, and no one brings anyone.
That's the thing as well. When you're an unsigned band, or even signed bands, you've only got a set amount of music that you can play. So you're going to be playing pretty much the same show, whether you're charging your fans to come in at $5 or whether you're letting them in for free. So why the hell would they trek into Manchester, unless like you were going to make it the beginning of a big night out or something? Like, why would they pay a $5 to come and see you play when actually they can?
This is exactly why
come local.
I wanted to say, like, one of the main points I want to talk about today is why bands should play outskirts gigs, so like little town centres rather than city centres.
Cool.
And there's quite a few reasons for it. One of them is because most of the time gigs on the outskirts are free. So if you're bringing your mates down, they don't have to actually pay any money. They can see your same set for nothing. You don't have to deal with any pay-to-play promoters. There's no pay-to-play promoters in the towns that I know of, like Oldham, Bolton, Preston. All these places don't have pay-to-play promoters. They have people who just do it for the love of doing it, or pubs that just want to put music on. Macclesfield's another good one's got a few venues there.
Yeah, Wrexham was always good for us.
And the other thing is you can build up a really, really, really good following, like the Lottery Winners did, like Massive Wagons did, in the outskirts, and then when you do go and play a city centre gig, you can sell it out. Because all you have to do is put out a post to all the people who've seen you on the small places, and they're near enough to Manchester to be able to get in there and actually go and watch you. And then they already know what you like, and they're willing to pay £5, maybe £10.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. I think there's so many bands who come in and they presume that coming to somewhere like Stockport is going to be a lesser quality gig than going to Manchester, but it's the exact opposite.
It is the opposite, like, honestly.
Especially because, well, another reason is you always get a crowd in town centres because they don't tend to have anything else on other than what's going on in that particular venue that night. In Manchester, how much competition have you got for other nights going on the same evening?
So many other nights, and you can create a buzz about yourself if you're playing these. I mean, I agree with this completely. Like, and we, you know, in my old band, so we did that. I've done gigs where, in fact, I did one last year where we supported a band in I think it was Sheffield or somewhere else, or two bands. They were great bands, amazing bands, but they were really like in the centralised locations, and not many people came at all. You know, like. Basically nobody came, but then you do the gigs in the smaller pubs and the smaller venues and stuff on the outskirts or in towns and villages rather than the big city centres, and you generally get more people there because, like you say, there's no other competition. It's like you get your regulars as well. Your regulars just go every Friday or every Saturday, whatever day, to go and see bands.
I mean, the city, any city centre on a weeknight, how many things are going on even on like a Tuesday night?
Bingo.
Nothing. Yeah, even like a Tuesday night, or you've got millions of things. Not even just gigs, just like cinema, theatre, everything else going on. You can beat in with so much other stuff. If you come to Stockport, there's maybe 3 places you're going to go on a night out. we're one of the biggest towns in Europe, officially by population.
But yeah, we are, aren't we? Yeah, we are.
So you can get a decent following from doing something that is not maybe the most fashionable of towns to do, but actually you'll build up a much better following in an area like Stockport or, like I say, Macclesfield or the other small areas, and you won't have to pay for the privilege. You won't be selling tickets.
I think that's a really good point.
We would obviously heartily recommend to message Leaf Promotions if you are in. I mean, you don't even have to be from the Northwest, do you? Like, you can be from any. You take bands from all over, don't you?
That's it. Yeah, it's mainly Northwest, but the occasional touring band. We try to stick Northwest just because it's good to support your local music, essentially. Yeah. And we've done very well with Northwest bands in the past. But yeah, we regularly get bands from kind of Liverpool, North Wales, all over Great Manchester. And like I say, we try and do our best to make sure that they're not going to be out of pocket at the end of the night. We're getting travel expenses at the very least. So, and we have some venues which are just doing really well. Before all this happened, we're doing really, really well. So. Hopefully it will come back and it'll be exactly the same after all this.
That's it.
So that was John Scanlon, affectionately known by us as John Leaf. From Leaf.
I never asked him what Leaf meant. Why? I'll have to get him on again for that. Find out what Leaf means.
Yeah, we'll have to get him back for that.
Leaf Promotions. There's a story behind it, right?
Yeah. There must be.
Yeah.
There must be.
That was good.
We'll find out. We'll find out next time. So now we're on to Album of the Week.
Album of the Week.
I feel like we need some sort of Album of the Week jingle.
I think we do. We'll have to make one at some point.
So Granger, I chose this week's album.
Yeah.
What is it?
It is. The album is called The World Is In Your Way, and it's by Dragged Under. Good name, actually. The World Is In Your Way.
You go first, son.
So I've never heard of this band before Pete recommended it. I've never heard of this album, never heard of this band, never heard of anything by them. But I would describe it as post-hardcore or post-punk. The songs on the album are pretty in your face and short. The whole album is, I think, just over 30 minutes, I think. And I tell you what, so I've always been into that. Well, actually, no, I've not always been into that kind of music. So this week it's Dragged Under. And the album is called The World Is In Your Way. And it's only about a 30-odd minute album, but fuck, does it kick you in the gonads?
Oh yeah, it kicks you in the nuts.
Like, I wasn't expecting it. I looking at like the cover design and stuff on Spotify, and like looking at the description of the band, I was like, okay, so it's going to be. And I kind of knew what to expect to an extent, but it's the kind of thing I listen to anyway. Like, it's my style of music, which is surprising because I've never heard of them before. Never heard of Dragged On, never heard of this album. But I love post-hardcore, I love post-punk. And these guys are actually pretty, because there are a lot of bands that sound very similar. And I'm going to get onto that because there are a couple of songs in this album that I can definitely say sound similar to other bands. But saying that, what they do it well. Like, the songs aren't too long. They're the perfect length. The first song in the album is mega. However, what I will say is you could literally, it's not a bad thing because I love this band as well, but you could literally place that, apart from possibly the bridge bit where you can tell his voice is different, you could place that in a Bring Me the Horizon album and you wouldn't notice. Like, honestly, like the chorus and everything is...
Yeah.
Apart from there's a bit like in the bridge or the breakdown where he kind of starts, like, he sounds a bit different to Ollie Sykes. What do you think about that? The first song album, which is called
The Real You, I think.
The Real You, but it still kicks off like.
The first time I ever listened to it was a couple of months ago now, whenever it first came out, and I didn't like it. I thought it's too much, but then I went back to it probably about a month ago, and it is everything I wanted to listen to from when I was 14.
Okay.
14, 15, 16. And it just brought all of that back. Like that nostalgia that comes with that kind of... Huh?
Right.
That kind of angry, pissed off music that I always used to listen to. Maybe not quite that hardcore. But as we seem to keep going back to it, this particular album, but it harks back to Sum 41's Does This Look Infected to me.
So I was going to mention that. So the two bands I was going to mention was Bring Me the Horizon, and they've got what I would say about the album, which is it's not necessarily a criticism, but it's something that I noticed, okay, is that the choruses, it has this structure. Every song, almost every song, has the same kind of structure where the chorus, I don't know how to put it, like...
Can I try?
They sound, yeah, do you sound a bit similar in the choruses?
So every track, bar a couple, seem to be... an
elevation of the chorus.
Yeah,
every single...
right. So the verse is screamo.
Yeah, full on, like
pretty much full on screamo. Not like Slipknot screamo.
No, you can hear what he's saying. It's kind of the melodic screamo.
But it's that aggressive kind of in your face. I call it bad mood music.
Yeah.
Which cheers me up when I put on something like that if I'm in a really bad mood.
I tap away to it. Like I was happy into the album. After the second run.
So yeah, it seems I'm not gonna say that. Yes, I am. The album as a whole, when you take it as a full piece, the tracks are quite cookie cutter. It's screamo verse.
Yeah.
Stadium style, like big, massive, anthemic chorus.
With the same effects on the vocals in most of them, the same kind of...
Yeah, most of it's like double tracked.
Yeah. You get that same feel. Notice it if you listen to it, guys.
With like that kind of octave above backing vocal in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bridge sort of breaks down to like a metally kind of...
Oh, some of the bridges are mega. Yeah.
Some of the riffs are out of the world.
Some of the breakdowns are insanely good, and I couldn't help but. And I exercised this, so I actually put it on. I listened to it loads of times, and I exercised to it, and I'm almost dancing, like I'm jumping up and down, like listening to it because it's so like just like bob to the beat, you know. Like there's a couple on there that I absolutely love, like that I'm catchy and I listen to over and over again. First one is Hypochondria. Which is track 2. I mean, the first track is really good. It just sounds so much like... I mean, I love Bringing Me the Horizon anyway.
I think the first track's one of the weaker tracks of the album.
You think okay, so no, I liked the first track.
I liked it.
It just wasn't one of my favourites.
I like it. I think it's one of the weaker tracks.
I did like Roots, although I didn't think it was worth mentioning. I've just mentioned it anyway, but there you go. Instability was mega as well. Mm-hmm. And my third Instability and Hypochondria are my two kind of favourites. My third mention is The Hardest Drug, which is a bit different to the rest in that it's not as cookie cutter. They know what they do and they do it well. I think that's where they kind of stick, you know, like they're not trying to. We're not trying to go experimental. Completely different from last week's album, where Placebo's album is fantastic and amazing. And I love Sleeping with Ghosts, but the album takes you up and down a roller coaster. This is just knows what it is. Bang, 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 bang. Every song.
Oh yeah, this is high octane, start to finish.
Yeah. I mean, I love this kind of thing, and it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea because it is post-hardcore. It is niche to some people.
I think it's quite soft though for that genre.
His voice is really good in that he does get that Sum 41 feel and that Ollie Sykes feel where it is heavy, but it's not too much where you can't even tell what he's saying. It's like it's aggressive, but you can still tell that he's a human. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I like screamo as much as anybody, but there is some stuff that I don't like if it's real, if I really can't understand it. I prefer the higher pitch screamo to the lower guttural type.
Yeah, if it's still got a bit of a melody to it.
Yeah, exactly, like melodic screamo.
Like there is, I don't.
There's
a place for it, but it's not in my iTunes library.
Yeah. I played with some mega. I played with some mega. Oh, there you go. I play with some mega kind of heavy screamo and heavy like metal bands and stuff. And yeah, some of them it can. For me, it can alienate me a bit because I just don't get it. You know, like I like and I'm in. Funny enough, like my current band, which I mentioned in the video age ago, World Held Hostage. This album reminds me a lot of us actually. Like they're really.
I thought that.
That kind of like just because our formats are very similar. We are a bit cookie cutter. Not all our songs, there's a few that aren't, but very much like that. And Paul's screaming style is very similar, where he's screaming, but if you listen to it, you can hear that it's melodic. There is actually like words there. So yeah, like I loved it. I did, and I'm not just saying this. I'm not just like being like, oh, I'm gonna love every album, because I'm not. There's gonna be a couple of weeks where you're gonna send me something, and I'm gonna be like, I fucking hated that shit. But this is my cup of tea, straight up, totally.
I thought it would be.
Yeah. And I do know what I'm gonna give it now, out of 10. I do have a number that's come to me, and I can listen to this album because it's only half an hour as well. You can just put it on and on and on again. It's like it did make me feel better. Like I just felt better after listening to it. Like
you said about working out to it. I had it on to work out with.
It
gets you pumped, man.
The drummer is really good. Like the mixes are good. It is produced very heavily, as professionally as it would be. The vocals, as I said, in the choruses, it is produced almost like Bring On The Horizon. It's produced to be like anthemic chorus. Like there's no kind of rough feel to it in that respect, but it's still a brilliant album from a band that I had never heard of, and I would recommend to any post-hardcore fans. If you like things like Days to Remember, Architects, Sin, I would say, that kind of thing as well. Some 41's earlier stuff like Relentlessly Confected and Bring Me The Horizon as well. I would say this is kind of your cup of tea. And I would give it out of a 10. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which is, it was very close. I probably would give it a 9 in a week once I've listened to it over and over again. Because I want to listen to it for a week, I'm going to give it an 8. And also, I don't give anything a 10 unless it's like my favourite album ever or one of my favourites.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's an 8, and this is why I'm going to give it an 8.
Same number first week?
Yeah, first time we've agreed. This could be this is a moment in time that needs to be written down somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm going to give it an 8 too. And the reason why is because those anthemic choruses can be quite generic.
It is a bit samey. I'd say the verses are quite diverse.
Yeah.
The choruses in a couple of them, I was like, this sounds almost the same as the one before. And I know it's not, the melody is different, the words are different, but the feel of it is the same. But it's good, they know what they're doing, but it does feel the same.
As a whole piece, I think it's an 8. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. As a whole piece, it's brilliant, and like I said, I recommend it to anybody since that kind of thing. Feel free to comment below on your feelings on it. You might fucking hate it. You might love it. If you disagree with us, if you agree with us, let us know. We can take the heat.
There is one thing that's going to become quite clear the more of these that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Is our music tastes are wide and varied.
They are, because they are. Because I'm going to give you my album for next week in a minute, off camera, and we shall see what you think of it.
Okay. Oh God, I don't know what's going to happen with this one.
But anyway, I think we're going to leave it there, guys. But it's been a good week. I've enjoyed it. So
yeah, I've really enjoyed this week.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one actually. It's been really good. I mean, I enjoy them all, but this is feels like a good one. Remember, please, if you like what you listen to, if you like what you're listening, if you like you're watching, if you're listening to our podcast or you're watching us, if you're on YouTube, please click the like button. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, I mean, click it anyway. You hit the bell notification so you know that we release videos every single Friday at 3 p.m. If you click the bell, if you do anything in between that, you'll find out. And also, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Feel free to subscribe. If you want to ask us anything, pop it in the comments below. We do reply, and we don't have any admin assistants. It will be us. So it'll be Adam or Pete. Great drop. Yeah, you think we have assistants replying? We don't. It will be us. If you want to ask us anything about, or you want to come onto the show, again, you can message us or you can comment below. We'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, fire us a message if you want to be on the show. If you think you've got any good stories, funny stories, horror stories.
There must be some musicians out there. What stories?
Oh my God, stories.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we want. If you've got some crazy shit, we want to hear all about it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in again.
Yeah.
And we shall see you next week.
See you next week.
Fiddle pip.
Bye.
Bye.